Right, guys, can you modernize ninjutsu? Now, this gets talked about a lot, and I did actually do a book on modernizing ninjutsu called Modern Ninja Warfare. But in there, I do say what I'm about to say here, but in briefer form. Okay, right, we get a lot of people who come on and say, let's modernize ninjutsu, and you can to a certain extent. But then there's a deeper argument where they say, well, people say you should only research historical ninjutsu because it's pretty much redundant to modernize it. And I sway. So this is where the line comes. To modernize ninjutsu for reality, for really doing ninjutsu today, is redundant. It does not work, it is not useful, it's no good. We have far better systems in place already. However, to use ancient ninja principles in your modern life and to adapt what was said before is a good thing. Okay, that's a good positive thing, but it should be taken with this little pinch of salt. So let's start with number one, modernizing it for real life world today. No, simply can't be done. So you, to be a ninja today, realistically, you would have to be a hacker, a computer hacker. How many of you have the skills of hacking a national bank? How many of you have the skills of hacking Google? Yep, I'm talking hacking into, or for example, hacking into the enemy and enemy employer's computer. How many people can do that? That's where ninjutsu is today, professional hackers. How many of you have access to the cameras? Now, we all know Google listens to you for advertising, and I've been told by a spy that it can watch you, it knows you, it says if you have been photographed 3 times inside a city, you're on record. I know that all the cameras along the roads are not speed cameras, they actually check your registration plate, which maps where you are. How many of you have access to that information? That's modern ninjutsu. People who can bring down your computer, crash it, clone your computer. You can then map where I've been in my car, map my Google search programs, map what I've been looking at, build a profile, and then have surveillance over me through a network of cameras. That is modernizing ninjutsu. So when people say, oh, well, let's modernize ninjutsu, it would cost you hundreds of millions of pounds. And you say, well, is that not a bit silly, Anthony? No, because when Sun Tzu talks, so the art of war there, Sun Tzu, he says, do not spare gold on spies. Spies cost a lot of money. And he's not saying it, oh, I have 50 grand a year, let's say, income, or 30 grand a year, or 100 grand a year income. He's not saying, oh, give out 10 or 20,000, dollars, pounds, whatever krona you're using. What he's saying is, in the scale of a nation or a state, spies are expensive and they cost the equivalent of millions of pounds. Okay, so unless you have a budget of millions and millions of pounds, you have access to worldwide computer hacking technology, you have weapons, military grade weapons, and you have access to working outside an army but being connected to the army, you can be parachuted into certain places and infiltrate behind enemy lines with the backup of a radio saying, go here, tell the Lord, go here. You're not modernizing ninjutsu. It's just silly. I get this all the time. Let's modernize ninjutsu. And instead of, using the kama, we'll use garden shears. And you're like, no. Right, so let's take the kama. The kama was used for cutting through fences. So what you would need is basically whatever fences they have on military bases today, or in ninjas, you get in the book of ninja, it's got the kama for cutting through bamboo fences, and it's got drilling tools and tools like that. You need tools to get you through wire fencing, iron fencing, through concrete buildings, and through modern door locks. So to modernize ninjutsu, you would need to cut through fencing, bypass lights, bypass cameras, get to a facility where you have to either cut out UPVC windows or cut out the locks from UPVC doors or iron doors. Yeah, you have to have the technology to get rid of that. Yep. And if you don't, you're not modernizing ninjutsu. Yeah. So when people say, so this always comes. So this is where I'm going. People always say, and I've seen it done by, I'm not just talking about one person, I've seen it done by many, many people. They say, okay, Fujibayashi Sensei in the Bansen Shukai says, ninjutsu must change. Therefore, because ninjutsu changes, and I teach hand-to-hand combat, which is what a lot of people do, therefore, Fujibayashi says ninjutsu changed, teach hand-to-hand combat, ninjas changed. No. So this becomes the sticking point, is where people wish to use the name of the ninja to qualify what they teach today. Yep. So you see this all the time. Like you see people doing literally karate, yep, or kung fu or something like that, and they say this is ninjas. But you're like, well, you're using the name ninja, which is old school, to qualify what you're teaching today, but it has no connection. So we do get a lot of, or I get a lot of, why stick to ancient principles when the ninja themselves say move on? They do, and the world did. In fact, the world moved on so fast that ninjas were out of date very quickly, and checking the direction of the stars, just gone. Checking lucky and unlucky days, gone. Using like string to check if the house was asleep, they're all gone. Listening to snoring techniques, all gone. Ninjas are gone. The Japanese did not do ninjutsu in World War II. They had a lecture on the history of ninja in the Nakano School of Spy. I think we have the documents for this, and basically they were taught Western derailing of trains, bugging phones, and it was all Western. So the ninjas came to an abrupt end, and then by World War II they had introduced Western spying, and it wasn't only just the spying, they introduced everything Western. In fact, the general feel in Japan was that, hold on a minute, we've gone too Western here, we've just done everything Western, we've ditched all our original stuff, and ninjutsu was one of those things. So we did modernize ninjutsu, the Japanese, that is, sorry, and that meant ninjutsu died and it went. So Fujibayashi himself, if he was alive today, would be in the military, he would be in the spy branch, he would be working as a computer hacker. He would, or he wasn't, and he was doing a manual on it. He'd have, this is how to bypass fences. This is how to derail trains. This is how to bring down a plane. This is, how many of you people out there practicing ninjutsu can bring down a plane, can derail a train, can, access Google cameras through other people's cameras, take clone computers. They are the aspects of modernizing ninjutsu. So where does that leave us? There's the people here where there's this middle group now where you've got those people who dedicate their ways just to the ancient way. Now me, I'm partly that. I literally study ninjutsu and present it to you as an author and that's my business. But yes, of course I would like to use ninjutsu in my daily life, but I'm not working for the government. I'm not using spy planes and drones, I don't have drones, I can't drop bombs from drones, that's not what I don't have that ability in my repertoire. So what exactly can I do for modernizing ninjutsu? All I can do is take the principles of ninjutsu and put them in my life. I've told this story before on the channel, but there was a friend of mine, his girlfriend read the Shoninki and read about when birds scatter, somebody's there, and she was going down an English country lane where you can't see ahead but you can see in the distance, and suddenly birds scattered. So she was like, I just pulled in a minute, and then another car came whizzing around the corner full of lads with caps on. She'd have been head-on collision, and that was using ninjutsu in civilian life today. Spotting how when aggression is coming, understand when people are lying, understand the tactics behind conversations. Those are the things. So, but for some reason, people hanker onto, they do two things. They sell ninjutsu saying, I'm going to teach a historical ninjutsu, but then teach a non-historical ninjutsu and say, well, ninja said it changed, so it's okay for me to do it. And I told you, it's not one person, this is many, many people, many clubs out there they'll go off, dress in black, and they always seem to dress in black because of 1920s comics. They dress in black because of a comic sort of idea, and then what they do is they get shuriken out and all this and throw it and all that, and then what they say is, well, ninjas change and this is where we've changed, so therefore, that's it. So, but what we have to realize here, guys, is actually you can modernize ninjutsu. You use the ninja art. Sometimes you will go in black, sometimes you use different colors, sometimes you'll dress as the gray man, and sometimes leave your phone at home so Google doesn't track where you're going. Have a secondary phone that is not connected to you. Things like that you can put if you're going to commit crimes. Do you know what I mean? Or going to spy on someone. You know what I mean? If you're like that guy over there, has been following my daughter, and I'm going to go and have a word with him, but we live in a world where having a word with someone who's probably a threat to your daughter is no longer okay because he hasn't actually done anything. You have to wait till he rapes her. So, you know, Google phone goes at home, cap goes on, everything stays out, you go out, you know, and if you were really good, you would trick your phone into thinking it was a day later, or however they hack phones nowadays, and you go sort the fella out, wouldn't you? And you'd be like, look, officer, I was there. In my house. Google says it. Everything says it. The car maps say it. Where was it? Prove I wasn't there. You know what I mean? Other guys, a couple of broken legs somewhere in hospital. Weren't me. Weren't me, Gov. You know what I mean? That's the sort of thing you'll be using it for. If it's going to be offensive, that's why you'd have to lose that. But unless you're committing a crime, and, you know, a crime which you consider that the law should really be on your side, but it's not. Do you see what I mean? So you've got these stages. So when we say, can you modernise ninjutsu, it's really difficult to say if you can or you can't. Yes, you can, but that killed ninjutsu. And if modern ninjutsu is today's CIA, today's MI5, MI6, the specials branches, they're all that sort of stuff, that would be ninja today. Even down to forward scouts in the army, which technically becomes far distance scouts, but there's a crossover there with ninja. If somebody's working undercover in Iraq, in South America, that's modern ninjutsu. If you want to stick to historical ninjutsu, stick to the book, stick to the art of war, and just understand. And you don't have to explain to anyone why you're doing it. You don't have to say, when people say, well, what are you using that sword for? Well, I'm not playing computer games at home and having a pint and eating a pie, am I? I'm having a nice time. I'm learning something. I'm learning bits of another language. I'm learning bits of another culture. I'm getting flexible. I'm getting fit. What's the problem? No problem. So crack on. You don't have to explain yourself. But there's that moment in the middle where you're like, I'm not going to be a criminal. I'm not going to be a real spy. But I want to move away from only historical. So then, yes, throw some shuriken. But you're like, it's not because ninjas did it. It's because you enjoy Japanese warrior culture. And shuriken are part of Kenjutsu, swordsmanship. Off you go. Why are you doing Kenjutsu? Because I like the idea of being able to sword fight. It's a historical interest. And to be honest, there are still machete fights in the street. That's just a single-handed, you know, backsword or something. Or some people come at you, you know, you can defend yourself with a sword, maybe, but we hope that doesn't happen. But still, I'm going to coordinate, use my long-term memory, create muscle memory. Instead of muscle memory for a computer game, guys, do muscle memory for fencing. A great education includes fencing, boxing, and, you know, all the mathematics, arithmetics, doing all that, making yourself. My friend said to me once, a different friend, said, there'd be nothing wrong with your life if you dedicated it to learning all the skills James Bond had. So imagine you had loads of money, and instead of just drinking and eating oysters on the thingy and looking at that bar and that bar, you said, I'm going to learn Russian, I'm going to learn Japanese, I'm going to learn how to shoot, I'm going to learn how to rock parachute, I'm going to learn how to rock climb, I'm going to learn about espionage devices, just for fun, because then I'm mint. Nothing wrong with that. So when people say overall, how can you modernize ninjutsu? You have to say, well, what do you mean modernize? How far do you want me to go? Because if you push it too far, you're going either criminal or spy. If you come back this end, you're saying, I'm doing it for historical understanding. Or I'm using the principles to adapt my life today, but I'm not going to go down the route of comic book character with black and shurikens and everything. I can do all that, but it's only a simple shift of mind. I'm throwing shurikens. Why? Because we know shuriken jutsu existed within samurai culture. I'm learning how to create fires in the wilderness because we know kajutsu, you know, existed in Japanese culture. I'm learning about conversation techniques. I'm learning about how to see truth beyond inside of fiction, fiction inside of truth, because of ninjutsu, shinobi no jutsu. That is a different kettle of fish to dressing in black, throwing shuriken, you know, doing kung fu at the weekend and saying, I'm doing it because Ninja said we could change. Yep, big difference. Get yourself a copy of the Book of Ninja or The Art of War, or there is Modern Ninja Warfare by Anthony Cummins. Right, guys, see you later.